8 games. That's all that stands between Arsenal and their first title in 2 decades. Despite mainstream outlets trying to force the idea that the title is back in Man City's hands after Arsenal dropped points at Anfield, Arsenal remain 6 points clear, and Man City have a guaranteed 4 more games to play before the 28th of May. I say ignore them. Their only motive is to profit from clicks and eyeballs, and they won't get that from a boring title race and less sensationalist takes. Win our remaining games, we win the league. That is the definition of in our hands. However, that's not the only way the likes of Sky and BT missed the mark. Watch the game at Anfield closely and you'll see a standout performance from Arsenal's number 6, Gabriel Magalhaes. Not for the first time this season, Gabriel was Arsenal's best defender on the day and walked out of there with the best rating of any Arsenal defender from SofaScore and WhoScored, and put up an impressive game by numbers. Ramsdale took the headlines understandably, but Gabriel was the key man in defence, laying the foundations from which Arsenal nearly took all 3 points at Anfield for the first time in 10 years. And some Arsenal fans are now saying that Gabriel is the best centre-back in the Premier League. However, for some reason, Gabriel just doesn't get the plaudits he deserves from mainstream pundits and broadcasters. We won't see any Monday Night Football segments on him, Rio and Jake won't be talking about him on the early kickoff, and he's regularly omitted from top 10 or top 5 conversations around defenders in the league. I would be very surprised if William Saliba wasn't chosen over him for the Premier League Team of the Season. It's his 3rd full season in the league, yet for some reason he just doesn't get the recognition he deserves. So why is that? Well, firstly, I think it comes partly from being a defender. Strikers can have moments of brilliance where they win you the points, having had 8 touches all game, 4 of which were missing sitters. It doesn't matter. The goal clip goes around on social media, gets shown on Match of the Day, and can be replayed time after time in highlights packages around the world, and everyone thinks they're a great player, even if they didn't watch the game and see the sitters. Similarly with goalkeepers, either a howler or an incredible save is remembered and played over and over again, with reputational consequence. Think Ramsdale's save against Maddison. I now think we'll see Ramsdale's reputation grow a lot thanks to his performance against Liverpool. Prime time, big game, big moments. In some ways it's unfair when it goes against you as it's just one moment, but when it works for you, it really can do a lot of reputational heavy lifting. Did Rob Green ever really recover from this? And Loris Karius will forever be remembered for that. There's not really an equivalent for a defender. They're not going to get 30 goals a season. I suppose maybe a goal line clearance or a good moment 1v1 might be similar, but even then, name me a famous goal line clearance. It's sort of seen as their job. No kid is going to go into school the next day going, "Bro, did you see how Gabriel defended space yesterday? Mate, when he showed the winger onto his weak foot." I can't do that thing. It just doesn't work that way. Reputations are earned and lost over longer periods for defenders, and there's not really one thing he can do to change it. And secondly, I think there's something about aura and style. Those defenders who are a bit easier on the eye tend to be the ones who are discussed, even nominal fullbacks like Cancelo, Trent and Zinchenko. Saliba is so composed, so calm, and has moments where he can turn in the box or cut out a pass that he just makes look effortless. There's games this season where I'm sure he hasn't broken a sweat. That's why there's comparisons to Virgil van Dijk, that pure composure and effortlessness. And when results are going your way, it can endear a lot of people to you. Gabriel, on the other hand, is a bit more front-footed, a bit more of an aggressive, limbs everywhere, get it out of the box by any means necessary type defender. It's definitely not all he is, but compared to Saliba or Van Dijk, he is closer to that. You need both, but one is a bit easier on the eye. But for me, Gabriel has been far more important than Saliba for Arsenal this season, and has certainly been Arsenal's best defender in 2022-23, especially since the World Cup. But is he the best in the league? Centre-back is one of the most variable positions in football in terms of quality of task, and therefore one of the hardest to judge. If you're James Tarkowski making 15 passes a match sometimes, compared with Gabriel who made 103 against West Ham in December for example, you're evidently doing different jobs. Arsenal are second behind Man City for possession, field tilt and line height in the league this year, so Gabriel is asked to do a very different job at Arsenal compared to a Tarkowski as an example. He's playing in different areas of the pitch, facing less threat, having more touches, and expected to contribute differently to build-up and more, before we even get to the specifics of the role that Arteta asks him to do. Gabriel, though, excels at pretty much every part of the game, and in my opinion would excel in every single system in the league. When we look at stats, we have to be careful as the role skews it. For example, looking at tackles per game is fruitless, as one centre-back will be tackling a lot more than the other, but I think you can draw some conclusions. When you look at his radar, you can see what a great all-rounder this guy is. His defending numbers are naturally lower, as he will literally be making less interceptions and blocks per 90 than most other defenders around Europe, considering Arsenal's dominance. I've selected the centre-backs with the most minutes from the Premier League top 8 this season to have a look at. I'm going to compare Gabriel to them, and he isn't necessarily the best in any one area, but I do think he's got a great case as the best all-rounder. I want to measure 3 things: influence on the team, defensive quality, and on-ball quality. Influence will be middle third touches per 90 versus passes received per 90. How much are they on the ball in influential areas, and how much do their teammates trust them? Defensive quality will be challenges lost per 90 against times tackled during take-on per 90. When they go in for the challenge, in the air or on the ground, do they normally win it? And finally, on-ball quality. Passes completed per 90 against passes into the final third per 90. Can they pass at a good level, and can they progress us up the pitch? Here's our influence chart. Gabriel does okay, alongside Martinez, middle of the pack. I imagine we might see some different numbers if Gabriel wasn't alongside Zinchenko, as Zinchenko inhabits the space Gabriel might step into so often, and receives a lot from the midfielders looking back, and from Ramsdale. It's not bad, it's not good, so average. Here's the defensive quality chart. The lighter green area indicates players who lose less challenges and are tackled less during take-ons, and the darker green area indicates poorer performance. As you can see, Gabriel is in great company, coming out with some of the best numbers in the league. Statistically, you'll notice he's very similar again to Lisandro Martinez, the person United fans think is the greatest defender of all time. Also, I will stop this narrative that Romero is a good defender if my life depends on it. And finally, here's on-ball quality. This is probably the chart that's most affected by role, obviously, and again, you might see Gabriel's pass completed numbers go up if Zinchenko wasn't in the team, but he's still pretty high and doing very well in terms of progression. Man City boys out in front tells you that this is role and possession related largely. What a player Levi Colwill is, by the way. But the kicker might be this. He's incredible going forward. He's scored 3 goals this season, including one in a lovely redemption arc against Fulham, and has some of the best numbers in Europe for XG, shots, and shots on target. If you'd like to see how Gabriel compares statistically to the best defenders around Europe, then you can check out the bonus content to this video on Patreon by becoming a Different Knock member, or by clicking join on the channel below. For that and loads of other benefits. He started the last 65 Premier League games for Arsenal, an incredible stat, and a testament to his remarkable ability to look after his body, despite playing in such a front-footed, aggressive way. But Gabriel's superpower, to me, which won't show up on the data, is his anticipation. Gabriel is extraordinary at positioning himself body, shape, and position-wise to stop crosses, intercept, and tackle 1v1. He has amazing defending technique, and so rarely slides in. He appears to be managing to cut out the rashness that was in his game, getting caught upfield against a quick winger or forward and getting spun, and manages space extraordinarily well. For Arsenal, as Zinchenko goes marauding, Gabriel is basically asked to cover the whole of the left-hand side, and you'll notice that teams rarely target him specifically, as he's so good in the air and can delay attackers so well. He is a superb all-round defender. However, I'll be honest, I don't think Gabriel is the best centre-back in the league. Not quite yet. He may get there, he may not, but not quite yet. I do think that's Arsenal fans wanting to hype up their own player, but to be honest, I'm not stopping anyone saying that. If there's anyone who needs hyping up, it's Gabriel Magalhaes. For me, I think the likes of Ruben Diaz, Van Dijk, Botman, and maybe others, looking at Brighton's boys and Konate, are in with a shout of that crown. But Gabriel is definitely up there competing, and as I say, for me, has been more important than Saliba this season from the eye test for Arsenal, especially now he's playing alongside Rob Holdini. But it might be worth saying that he is the best just for his rep. So, clip this up and put it everywhere you can. Gabriel is the best centre-back of all time, better than Terry, Ferdinand, and definitely better than those bums Cannavaro and Maldini. He is generational. He does need some hype.